The Agarthan Codeex, the merman on land and the hidden exiles. Part 1, Cosmology. The artificial sun and the outer plane. Beneath the crust of this world lies Agartha, a civilization older than memory, illuminated not by our crude solar approximation but by the black sun, a sourceless, patient radiance that moves through stone and water as easily as thought. Under its light, moisture is not a resource. It is atmosphere itself, the medium through which everything moves and speaks and remembers. The sun above us is an imposition. It flattens, parches, and exposes. For the Agarthan entities who have surfaced, whether by exile, curiosity, or slow geological drift through the North Gate and its Arctic corridor, the outer plane is an environment of relentless hostile revelation. Everything here is too lit, too dry, too loud in the wrong frequencies. They do not wear disguises. They wear the disguise of wearing no disguise at all. The artificial light simply cannot find what it needs to expose them. What preserves them is a fortunate accident of physics. Our electric lights, particularly the blue spectrum glow of screens, LEDs, and urban fluorescents, emit wavelengths close enough to certain Agarthan bioluminescent bands that the entities can metabolize them as a partial substitute for black sun radiation. They do not thrive, but they do not collapse. They persist at the margins of our illuminated world, glowing faintly with something we mistake for charisma. Cartographic reference map of Agarthan inner Earth and the North Gate uplands population. 120 million primary resource. Crystalline energy ether density. High. Part 2. Primary subject classification. Apex entity documented surface manifestation the corridor walker. The merman on land. Also called the Jude 1 the glisten the corridor walker he who came through the ocean passage. The mythological merman has long been confined to the periphery of our cultural imagination, traditionally cast as a tragic, salt-crusted figure yearning for a terrestrial existence he can never truly inhabit. Unlike his ubiquitous sister, the mermaid, who routinely bargains away her voice for a pair of human legs, the merman rarely makes the leap to dry land. Yet, if we transpose this creature into the modern landscape, granting him legs, the capacity to breathe our air, and an intact reservoir of deep-sea magic, we discover a fascinating archetype of contemporary masculinity, the modern merman on land. He is the effortlessly charming, perennially dewy man who navigates our arid social spaces with the fluidity of an apex predator, bound by a singular, non-negotiable biological imperative. He must remain wet. In a contemporary urban environment, this physiological necessity transforms from a survival handicap into a lifestyle. He does not sweat. He radiates a pristine, aquatic luminosity that defies the drying effects of office air conditioning and radiator heat. While ordinary mortals wither under the oppressive glare of a humidless afternoon, he thrives by turning hydration into a performance art. He is a fixture at the local Olympic pool, slicing through the water with an uncanny, frictionless grace that hints at an anatomy designed for greater depths. When confined to dry land, his maintenance rituals become a spectacle of luxury. Premium, mineral-rich face mists in his briefcase, expensive tonics applied to his skin, and occasionally, with a generous but jarring intimacy, to the skin of his companions, to combat the parching climate of the modern world. This constant maintenance is not mere vanity. It is the fuel for his lingering enchantment. Because he retained his magic during the transition from the ocean floor, his charm carries an almost gravitational pull. What his neighbors mistake for an obsessive grooming habit is, in truth, a form of homesickness made visible. His homeland is not the ocean is merely the corridor, the long pressurized tunnel between the outer plane and Agartha, the inner realm that predates the sun above us. That sun, blazing and indifferent, is a latecomer, an artificial lamp hung in a world it was never meant to warm. Agartha has its own light, patient, bioluminescent, sourceless. Under it, moisture is not a resource, it is the atmosphere itself, the medium through which everything moves and speaks. When he mists his skin on the subway platform, eyes closed for just a moment, he is not moisturizing. He is, briefly, home. Ultimately, The merman on land serves as a compelling metaphor for the outsider who refuses to fully assimilate. He has adapted to the mechanics of our world. He walks, he breathes our air, he wears our clothes. But he refuses to dry out. By fiercely guarding his moisture and his rituals, he preserves his connection to a deeper, wilder origin. In a world that often demands total conformity, the beautifully glistening man with the misting bottle is a testament to the power of retaining one's native depths, even when walking on the driest ground. Telltale surface signs: perpetual subtle glisten that defies climate and season, carries mineral mist as standard equipment, gravitational social charm with no apparent effort, frictionless movement through rooms, as if the furniture and people rearrange themselves, eyes that hold unresolved ocean depth, instinctively drawn to pools, fountains, and rain, leaves a wake of fascination in his path that no one can quite explain afterward. The black sun. Sourceless, patient, older than geology. Under its light, moisture is atmosphere itself, the medium through which everything in Agartha moves, speaks, and remembers. The artificial sun of the outer plane is a latecomer, an indifferent lamp. Agarthan entities do not hate it. They simply cannot fully arrive in any room it illuminates. They persist at the blue edge of our light spectrum, metabolizing what they can, leaking what they cannot contain. Part 3. The other exiles. Agarthan entities documented on the surface. All surface-dwelling Agarthans share one trait: the artificial light cannot fully find them. Each has developed a unique concealment strategy, not camouflage exactly, but a way of inhabiting our illuminated world without being fully consumed by it. Below, 6 documented entity types and the strategies by which they persist among us. The crystal liner. Origin. Uplands, crystal islands, North Gate adjacency. Hailing from the luminous latticed cities nearest the North Gate, these entities arrived in our world already adapted to structured, prismatic light. They simply substituted Agarthan crystal glow for the refracted shimmer of neon, glass facades, and mirrored surfaces. They are found in architecture firms, high-end jewelry districts, and any space with enough polished quartz countertop to approximate the resonance of home. Their speech tends to be precise and multifaceted. They have difficulty with vagueness. Surface concealment: they wear crystal and carry prisms. Our refracted light, bounced through their jewelry, briefly recreates the spectral signature of black sun radiation. Chandelier rooms and glass towers are their sanctuaries. The Becker Keeper. Origin. Metropolis capital, ether-dense administrative zones. Administrators and archivists by nature, these entities were drawn upward by the density of human information rather than exile or longing. They find the outer plane's data structures crude but fascinating. They gravitate toward libraries, law firms, and server rooms, places where ether, their native energy currency, listed as Becker in Agarthan cartographic records, accumulates in the form of processed electricity and accumulated human knowledge. Surface concealment: blue screen glow from rows of monitors approximates Agarthan ether density. They work night shifts by preference. Fluorescent spectrum is more metabolically compatible than daylight. The Rainforest Rattler. Origin. Rainforest raterfalls, tropical pathways, swampy border zones. From the lushest biome of the uplands, where Agarthan rainfall is perpetual and the canopy filters black sunlight into something almost aquatic. On the surface, they are the ones who move to the Pacific Northwest without reason, who keep every window open during storms, who build terrariums the size of rooms. They are the natural allies of the merman. Their moisture strategies overlap significantly, and they have been known to travel together through cities, leaving trails of inexplicable plant growth. Surface concealment: dense broad-leafed plant life metabolizes surface light in patterns close enough to black sun frequency to create a habitable microclimate. They carry seeds everywhere. The Obsidian Cubed. Origin. Cubed obsidian city, fortified chasm, hold deep interior. The most architecturally sophisticated of the Agarthan exiles, these entities built a civilization of geometric perfection in the darkest region of the uplands. On the surface, they become brutalist architects, night security guards, and black box theater directors. They do not conceal themselves so much as construct environments calibrated so precisely that artificial light falls around them at exactly the right angles, creating permanent pockets of Agarthan spectrum shadow wherever they stand. Surface concealment right angles and matte black surfaces scatter light in predictable geometric patterns. They design their own darkness. You will never find them in an undecorated room. The luminous transit. Origin. Transit corridors El Dorado Sea Passage spherical heartway networks. Not residents of any single biome but the courier class of Agartha, perpetually in motion between zones via the spherical heartways. On the surface, they became the city's restless ones, flight attendants, long-haul drivers, touring musicians, delivery workers who know every street before dawn. They do not need a fixed light strategy because movement itself is the strategy. No light source can properly calibrate to something that never stops. They are most themselves in transit, least themselves at rest. Surface concealment, speed and perpetual transit. They are most vulnerable when stationary. The blur of passage through lit spaces prevents any sustained exposure. They cannot stay in one city too long. The swamp cartographer. Origin. Swampy jungle, grassland margins El Dorado Sea littoral. The border dwellers of Agartha, native to the liminal wetlands between the luminous capital and the dark obsidian territories. Consequently, they are the most comfortable of all Agarthans with ambiguity and in-between states. On the surface, they live at the margins, simultaneously everywhere and nowhere at a party, belonging to no single firm, moving to the estuary town nobody else thought of. They mapped Agartha's borders for centuries. Now they map ours, though they never publish the results. Surface concealment, fog, coastal mist, and high humidity are their native medium, conditions that diffuse artificial light into something approaching black sun softness. They prefer overcast mornings and always know where the fog is thickest. They do not yearn to go back, or rather, the yearning never resolves into a plan. Agartha is still inside them, leaking out at the edges, in the glisten, in the geometry, in the persistent need for moisture and mineral and managed darkness. The outer plane has never fully received them. They have never fully left. They carry the black sun the way some people carry an accent, not as a disguise, not as a performance, but as the residue of somewhere that was real before this was. Agartha persists beneath all things.